Hi friends, I'm Sarah. Welcome back to my channel, Sunset Bow Tarot. So as promised, I am doing kind of a big cull of my deck collection, and so I thought today I would walk you through the decks that I am going to be letting go of. I've been doing a little bit of spring cleaning and, really taking a hard look at some of the decks that I have been not reaching for. I want to make sure that I say up front that the fact that I'm letting go of these decks is no criticism of any of these decks in and of themselves. These are all fantastic decks, and in fact, the reason that I bought them is because I really liked them. There's just, for whatever reason, I haven't been reaching for them or have discovered that they don't work for me, and so I'm just going to talk through which decks I'm going to be letting go of and the reasons why, and everything that I am showing in this video I am going to be putting up for sale, so I will list that list with the prices in the description box down below and how to get in touch with me. So let's go ahead and get started. I got quite a few to go through, so let's just keep it moving. Okay, so the first deck that I'm letting go of might be a little bit of a shock. Honestly, I'm a little shocked too, but I have given this deck the old college try and I have discovered that it is just not working out for me, so I am going to be letting it go. And this is my deck of the Bastard. So this deck, I was so excited when I bought this deck. I was like, this is going to be perfect. I spent quite a lot of money on it. I actually saved up for it for a while. This is a couple years back that I actually bought this deck, and I've been hanging on to it in all of that time, but never actually reaching for it all that much. But I mean, like, I put it back, just so you know, all the decks that I'm going to be showing, I did put back in order just because I always do that before I sell decks, just to check every card and make sure that, everything's in order when I send it on. But this deck I was so excited about. I actually got this deck in the version of the plastic cardstock and a custom back on it. And obviously this is an incredibly beautiful deck. So the point of this deck, it's called the Deck of the Bastard because it's a quote-unquote bastardized version of multiple different decks together. So there are some cards that are from, I believe, the Atea. There are some that are from the Soprafino, and then the minors are from the Rider-Waite-Smith. And the reason that I got this in the plastic cardstock is that I was thinking, because this deck has such a cool vintagey looking aesthetic, it has that kind of old-timey fortune teller kind of aesthetic, and I really wanted to make this like a main deck for doing like client readings and readings for friends. I thought, oh, the plastic will make it great if I need to take it to a bar or to a coffee shop to do readings, and I'm gonna get this custom back on it because I like this back better, and etc., etc. And then here's what I discovered. You know how I've talked before about how I'm not actually a huge fan of collab decks? Well, it turns out that same feeling extended to this deck as well. Like, I can read with it, obviously, but I would always have this problem where I actually struggled with the visual cohesiveness, the visual cohesiveness of cards when I lay them out. Like, it was one of those situations where also because the minors are all Rider-Waite-Smith, I could be like flipping cards over, merrily reading along like Rider-Waite-Smith, and then I would get to this and be like, who are you? I would just have this like sudden reaction of like, what are you doing here? You don't belong in the Rider-Waite-Smith. Who are you? It just threw me off. Like, I never felt like I got completely fluid reading with this deck, just because there is that sort of inconsistency in some of the visual styles, even though again it's all been aged and it's all sort of like tried to make it look like it's all one deck that goes together. It was one of those things where it threw me off just enough that I never felt fully fluid reading with this deck. Like, there was always just that little jolt when I would turn over cards that were from two different decks originally. And because of that, I never got to the point where I felt fully confident reading with this deck for other people, which was the whole reason that I bought it. When I read for other people, there are just decks that I like to use where I do feel fully fluid in reading with them. Like, I can just turn over cards and stuff comes to mind and it all just sort of flows easily. And, that's sort of my gold standard for decks that I want to use to read for other people with. But this one, I bought it specifically for reading for clients and for friends, and then just always had that weird little reaction to it where, like, you know, I'd flip over a card and feel thrown off by it, and like have to take a second to wrap my head around what it actually was, you know, because nothing seemed to fit together. So, like, again, this is a completely personal thing. Like, I mean, this is an absolutely wonderful deck. It's so wonderful. I thought I was going to absolutely love this deck. And as it turns out, it just didn't work for me for the purpose that I bought it for. So I am going to be letting go of this deck. Again, you know, this is an expensive deck to buy new, and I did get custom backs, and I did get the plastic cardstock. All of that, you know, costs extra. So this was like the most I've ever spent on a deck, and I literally have hung on to it for a couple of years trying to figure out a way to make it work. And again, it feels like so dumb for that to be the reason, but that is the reason why I can't read with it. Like, I look at these and I'm like, oh, you don't belong with you, you know, like, what, you know, what are you doing here? Like, you don't, like, you know, and it's just this like initial mental reaction when I flip a card over that just prevents me from feeling fully fluid and fluent in reading this deck, even though obviously, you know, I know what all the cards are and I can read with it, but I just don't feel completely like old shoes kind of comfortable with it. So that is why I'm going to be letting it go. Now, this deck comes in a regular white tuck box, which I threw away long ago. So I'm also going to be letting it go with the bag that I keep it in, because I feel like it goes really, really well with this bag. This is a bag that's by Betsy from The Bee and the Snake. And so I'll include the bag as well when I let this one go. But yeah, the Deck of the Bastard, you guys, it didn't... I never reached for it, and it's beautiful and it should be used, and you know, I gotta let it go. It's just not right for me. And again, it feels like the dumbest reason ever, but I gave it a lot of thought as to why I couldn't connect with it, and realized, like, paid close attention to how I was reacting when I was reading with it, and realized that was the reason. It was because it feels like a collab deck. The art is not cohesive, and there are cards that don't feel like they belong together in the same deck, and that throws me off just enough to make me the slightest bit uncomfortable. And that if I'm the slightest bit uncomfortable with the deck, I cannot use it to read for other people. So that's the story of the Deck of the Bastard. So I am going to be letting that one go. So to stay on the topic of historical style decks that I am going to be letting go of with their bags, because the tuck box is long since gone or disintegrated. This is the Ancient Italian Tarot. So this is a Lo Scarabeo deck. This is a reprinting of the Soprafino. And it's an absolutely beautiful deck. I mean, you know, it's a gorgeous reprinting of a historical deck. I should show you the backs. The backs are really beautiful. And it's an absolutely lovely deck. I don't keep a huge collection of Marseille or Pip style decks because it's not my favorite style of reading. It's a style of reading that I do sometimes, but it's not my favorite. And so I have a couple of other Pip style decks that I tend to reach for more, and also just feel a little less intimidated by. This deck feels just a little bit kind of cold to me. You know, the decks that I reach for more often, like the Marshmallow Marseille, I reach for much more frequently to do this kind of reading, and it just feels more cheeky and fun, and this one feels just a little bit too austere, I guess. So anyway, I am going to be letting that one go, and I am also going to be letting it go in the Peggy bag that I got for it, because this deck, the tuck box is just long gone, like it's disintegrated. So we'll go ahead and let it go with the bag as well. All right, I'm just going to keep on the train of like some decks, you know, along with the Deck of the Bastard, another deck that I think people might be a little shocked by the fact that I'm letting go of. I am going to be letting go of my Dark Mansion Tarot. So mine is, I think this is the first edition. This is like the first standard edition. It has the black edges and it has the cloud backings on it, which I think are really pretty. I really love these backings. The Dark Mansion does not come with a guidebook, just so you know. It comes in a clamshell box. Again, I have put it back in order. This one I am letting go of just because I sort of realized after this most recent Halloween season, I don't think I pulled this out to read with even one time. You know, it has a little bit of a darker aesthetic, and it has kind of a really fun Tim Burton-y kind of aesthetic. Again, no substantive criticism of this deck. I love this deck. I think the artwork is fantastic, but I don't tend to reach for, or I don't tend to keep decks that I don't reach for. And if I'm finding myself not reaching for something and also sort of feeling like, yeah, I don't know if there are just other decks in a similar category that I feel like I would reach for before I reach for this one. Like, I really love my Bohemian Gothic. I love the Halloween Tarot. You know, those are the ones that I really reach for around the kind of the fall time. And so I really feel ready to let this one go. Again, I've had it for a couple of years, and it's a beautiful deck. It's wonderful on so many levels. And it's gorgeous, but it's just not one that I feel like I want to hang on to. So I am going to be letting go of the Dark Mansion. Again, this is the first edition with the black edges and the blue cloud backs. So beautiful deck, but our time together is over, I think. Similarly, I have decided to let go of my Shadowland Tarot. This is a great deck. Again, there's nothing wrong with this deck. It's a great deck. It's wonderful. The guidebook to this deck is really, really wonderful. This is a great deck specifically for shadow reading, and I think that is what it was really designed for, is for shadow work. And the cards, the artwork on them is really fun and really reflects well the shadow meanings of the cards. But again, there are just other decks that I prefer to use for that kind of work. I find myself reaching for the Deviant Moon more often than I reach for this one, even though, I mean, it's adorable. It's super, super cute and fun and just a great deck. But again, if I'm not reaching for something, I don't tend to hang on to it. That is just my way. So I'm not really a collector. I like decks that I use. So I am going to be letting this one go. It's a wonderful deck. This one is mass market, and it has so much going for it, and it's really wonderful. And so I want it to find a better home where people are actually making use of it, as opposed to with me, where I am not. So that again is the Shadowland Tarot by Monica Bodersky. Okay, now before anybody freaks out, let me make clear what this actually is. This is a Darkness of Light Tarot. So for those of you who don't know, Tony DeMoro, who is the artist behind the Darkness of Light, recently came out with a 4th edition of the deck that is, in my opinion, on much nicer cardstock. It's on a beautiful linen style cardstock that feels much more durable, and that I really, really prefer how it handles and how it shuffles. So I bought myself a 4th edition, and this is my 2nd edition that I am going to be letting go of. So it still comes with a bag. This is literally the original little fold-out thingy that came with it back when I originally got this deck. So this is a signed copy. So looks like I got this in January of 2019. So that is 2 years ago that I got this deck. I absolutely love this deck. I mean, it's a favorite. Like, I would never be without a copy of this deck. I use it frequently and I love it. Mine has been edged in Sharpie, with, I guess, the exception of the title cards. So it is edged in black, and I did a really nice job, if I do say so myself. Like, it doesn't show on the fronts at all. And again, I mean, a beautiful deck, a deck I love. Like, and the only reason I'm letting this one go is because I got a different version of it on different cardstock that I like better. The end. You know, there's nothing much else to say about it beyond that. You know, it is a deck that's been used, but I still think it's in perfectly lovely condition, and it's a really wonderful deck. And this also, again, it happens to be a signed copy, which is kind of fun. So anyway, that is the Darkness of Light Tarot. This is the 2nd edition. So the 2nd edition has black borders, and unlike the 3rd edition, which had the white borders, it has no side borders, unlike the 1st edition, which had side borders. So it's a really nice edition, and it was my favorite of the editions of the Darkness of Light before the 4th edition came out, which is on that lovely linen cardstock that I really love. So I am going to be letting go of my 2nd edition Darkness of Light, which I love and has served me well for a couple of years now, but I really prefer the cardstock of the new one. I haven't been keeping it in the tuck box, so the tuck box is actually in really good shape. I've been keeping it directly in the bag. So the tuck box has just been in storage and it's still in very nice condition. Okay, let's just keep on shocking people. So I am going to be letting go of my This Might Hurt Tarot. I've had this one, I want to say, for a little over a year. I think I got it like Christmas time of 2019. So this one, I'm pretty sure that's when I got it. So I've had this one for a little over a year. Again, there is absolutely nothing whatsoever wrong with this deck. It is wonderful. It is well loved. I'm sure you know a lot of people who absolutely love this deck. I love this deck, honestly. It's a fantastic deck. Mine has the black holographic edges, just as an FYI. So this is a wonderful, wonderful deck. I think I have talked before about the fact that this deck is like right on the edge of what I like in terms of a comic or cartoon style of artwork. Like, it's just right on that borderline. And what I've been finding is that I am not reaching for this one as much. I find that when I would normally maybe feel drawn to reach for this deck, I've been reaching for other ones. The Numinous Tarot in particular is one that I've been reaching for a lot. It just, I don't know, it has a more kind of magical feel to me. I don't even know how to articulate it, but I like it a little better than this one. And again, I think it does have something to do with the art style of this deck, but I mean, this is such a wonderful deck. I want it to find a good home. It's fantastic. I've had great readings with it. You know, it's beautiful and wonderful, but again, I'm not finding myself reaching for it, and I want it to go to a home where it will be well loved and well used, as opposed to languishing on my shelf, you know, when I just keep potentially reaching for other things instead of this one. So I am going to be letting this one go. And again, this is just an example of one of those situations where it's a great deck and I really like it, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with it other than the fact that I'm reaching for other stuff more. And so this one I think needs a better home. So that is the This Might Hurt Tarot. Okay, another one that I'm going to be letting go of for a very specific reason. So you might recall when I did a previous declutter video, I had backed the whole Neo Rider Tarot collection. I got all 4 of the decks in the collection, and I let go of the other 3, and I kept this one because it was my favorite from an aesthetic standpoint. And this is beautiful. This is the Shadow deck of the Neo Rider collection. All of them come with a guidebook. It comes in a beautiful rose petal finish box with lots of foiling on it. I mean, these decks are beautiful and they are well produced. Here is my issue. This deck, this is the Shadow deck. It's on plastic cardstock and it has these sort of shimmery color fronts on them. I mean, beautiful, right? Like, look how beautiful this is. It's absolutely gorgeous. This deck is so slippery, I literally can't handle it. Like, when I try to shuffle this deck, about half the time they like spray all over the room. All of the cards like just go flying everywhere. And I mean, it's not like I'm a bad shuffler. Like, I'm a good shuffler, but this deck is so, like, it's just so slippery that I struggle to work with it. And as a result of that, I don't find myself reaching for it. So I think it's time for me to say goodbye to it, because I honestly really struggle to work with it. So again, this is the Neo Rider Shadow deck. And it's again just a Rider-Waite-Smith with, see, that is an example of what happens with this deck. Like, I cannot deal with it. So okay, I've got everything cleaned back up again, but after that little misadventure, maybe now you can understand why I am going to be letting go of this one. I didn't mean to illustrate it quite that graphically, but good enough, right? Okay. So another deck I'm going to be letting go of, and again, this is another one where people might be surprised, but I am going to be letting go of my Mermaid Cats Tarot. This is the box. The box is in great condition because I hadn't been keeping it. I normally don't keep tuck box decks in their tuck boxes because I prefer bags to tuck boxes, and I always wreck tuck boxes. So the tuck box has been in storage and is in lovely condition. So this is such a cute deck. Again, this is the Mermaid Cat Tarot. Absolutely adorable, so stinking cute. And I haven't found myself reaching for it. When I want a mermaid deck, I almost always reach for the Dame Darcy. And so, you know, I think this one is so sweet. I love how all the wands are little stalks of coral. All of the knights are riding on seahorses. It's just like, it's just the sweetest deck. So, you know, it's another one where I love it. Like, I absolutely love it. There's nothing wrong with it. I just haven't been reaching for it. And I don't tend to keep decks that I haven't been reaching for. So it's pretty much that simple. So again, that is the Mermaid Cats Tarot. So another deck that I am going to be letting go of is the Tarot Mucha. This is another deck. I've actually had this for quite a long time. And it's, and again, it's one of those ones where I just have found myself not really reaching for it. Again, there's nothing wrong with it. It's a beautiful deck. I did put it back in order. I have used this one quite a lot. And it's absolutely beautiful. It's just, it's one of those things where, like, I used to use this deck a lot, and then for the purposes that I would use it for, it's kind of been overtaken by other decks that I prefer to use more. And so, you know, I've had this deck for years, and then just the other day I sort of looked at my shelf and was like, oh my God, I haven't actually used that deck in probably at least a year or two. Like, it's been a while since I've reached for this one. So, I just decided, yeah, I think our time together is done, even though it's a wonderful deck. I think this deck is a great beginner deck, actually. It's very Rider-Waite-Smith, but if you prefer this kind of Art Nouveau artwork to Pixie's artwork, then, you know, this is a really nice, easy deck to learn with. And it's just, it's a very good, it's an easy reader. Like, it's a beautiful deck. My only issue with this deck that I have to say, I do have to say I have one substantive issue with this deck that I will show you, which is that I really hate the Judgment card because the death, or the angel and the Judgment card should not look that scary. That is my one issue with this deck. Aside from that, the rest of it is absolutely beautiful, and it has just some really gorgeous cards. I love the devil in this deck. I love the moon in this deck. You know, this is all illustrated in the style of Alphonse Mucha, who is a famous, you know, Art Nouveau artist. And yeah, it's a beautiful one. But like I said, you know, I just sort of, I feel like we've grown apart. So that one is another one that I am going to be letting go of. So another deck I'm going to be letting go of, I do have a copy of the Fairytale Lenormand. Again, this one is all back in order. And I barely use this deck at all, to be perfectly frank. I'm not a big Lenormand reader, and generally I have, I think, 3 Lenormand decks, and I really love them. I have my Bitmoji Lenny that Julie from Peekaboo Rose made for me. I have the Claire de Lune, and I have the Anna Kay. And that's really all I need, because I don't read Lenormand very often. So this one is wonderful. You know, this is by Arwen Lynch and Lisa Hunt. Lisa Hunt's the artist, so this one would go really well with Lisa Hunt's Fairytale Tarot. You know, it's a really lovely little deck. Just beautiful artwork. But again, it's just one that I don't really need. So I am going to be letting it go. And comes in a, whoops, comes in a nice little tin. Just a sweet little Lenny deck. So I am going to be letting go of that one. So on the Oracle front, I do have the Soul cards 1 and 2 that I am going to be letting go of. I have, I was keeping them together in one big deck, but I sorted them out into 2 decks so that they can be sold separately if anybody wants to do that. So I've had these decks for a while, and they're really lovely, but I just, you know, these are decks that don't have any keywords on them or anything like that. They're just pure images to read intuitively, and it just, as it turned out, wasn't something that I really found myself like super enjoying working with. Not necessarily because it doesn't have keywords. I actually have some other Oracle decks, the Mirror and Yarn of Mama Shamana, where the cards themselves with the images don't come with any words on them. They come with separate, like, sentence cards that you can also use with them. But I really love the images in those cards, and I actually really like working with those, even though the cards themselves with the images don't have any keywords. But this one, it just, you know, the art style turned out to not like super be my fave, and so I decided to let go of these ones because I wasn't I wasn't really enjoying working with them as much as I had anticipated. So again, I have both the soul cards 1 and 2. I can't remember which is which, but I will figure that out before I sell them. One has red backs, one has blue backs. They each have, I think, 60 cards in them. And, you know, yeah, they're really lovely and special. I know a lot of people love these and work with them a lot. Again, it just ended up that there are some other, you know, wordless oracle decks that I preferred to work with intuitively more than these, and I think it's just an art style thing more than anything else. So anyway, so these are the soul cards 1 and 2. Now I will say that for these I do not have tuck boxes or any boxes left from them. The boxes, I think I just threw them away because they don't really come with much of anything in terms of a box, and they come with just like a 2-page pamphlet that doesn't really have any information in it. So I had them in another bag that I'm now using for a different deck. So honestly, if you guys buy this from me, I'm probably going to send it in a Ziploc bag, but that'll just be how they come. So sorry, I don't have a nicer bag that's big enough for these that I can give away. So anyway, that is the soul cards 1 and 2. So another deck that I am going to be letting go of, and despite the fact that this deck is absolutely wonderful and beautiful, I am going to be saying goodbye to this one. This is the Naturescapes Tarot. This is by Tina, Queen of Wands, on Instagram. And she's made a couple of beautiful, beautiful photographic style decks like this. And this one is absolutely gorgeous. And I love the way that she has chosen the photography for it. It's just, oh, I mean, it's so beautiful. So this is a really gorgeous deck. And again, the only reason I'm letting go of this one isn't because I don't love it. It's because I find myself reaching for other decks instead. You know, rather than reaching this one, I almost always find myself reaching for the Majestic Earth Tarot or the Augenblick Tarot. And so I am gonna, you know, pass this one on, but it's a beautiful deck. She has her decks up on makeplaincards.com. She has another one called the Tarot of Architectural Objects, which is also really beautiful. I haven't bought it yet because, again, I'm afraid that I won't end up reaching for it, but it's really cool. And she is just really smart as a deck creator in terms of the way that she chooses the photographs that she uses for different cards. And, you know, they're beautiful. She's done a wonderful job with them. So anyway, again, this is the Naturescapes Tarot. I'm going to be letting it go, but it's a wonderful deck. Sorry, I don't know if I showed the backs. Those are the backs. So it's a wonderful deck, you know, created by a member of the community, and it's really, really lovely. So check out her stuff. And this is a very, very cool deck. But again, it isn't that I don't love it. I just don't reach for it. Okay, another deck I'm going to be letting go of is the full-size Next World Tarot by Christy C. Rode. I do have the tuck box for this. I just need to find it. So I will find the tuck box for this before I sell it. Like you can see, I haven't been storing it in the tuck box. So the tuck box is in a box somewhere, but certainly in very good condition because I've just been keeping it in a box. But anyway, this is a fantastic deck. You might recall me previously selling the mini version of this deck. I sold the mini version because I felt like it was too small for me to see the artwork. And then I bought the regular size version, and now I'm selling the regular size version because it's gigantic and too big for my hands to work with. So the Next World and I have just been a bust. And again, not because the deck isn't amazing, not because it doesn't have amazing artwork, but just because honestly I have very small hands. And I also kind of struggle with this card a bit because I'm bothered by lotus pods. But anyway, so this is another one that I'm going to be letting go of. It's a wonderful, wonderful deck, but it's just like I can't even get my hands around the cards at all. So and like I said, I will find the tuck box for this and let it go with the tuck box when I do let it go. So that is, again, the Next World Tarot. So I did do a video a little bit ago, just a couple days back, where I talked about some decks that had been hits or misses for me, and I will link to that deck, or link to that video in the description box, rather than, oops, some fluff on this one, rather than going through all these decks one by one. But I talked in that video about the Heart of Stars Tarot, which I am going to be letting go of. I have it in this satin bag, which I will include with it because this just came in a white tuck box from Make Playing Cards. Oh, and same thing with the Naturescapes, I should mention. I will include the satin bag that I have it in when I sell it. So that is a Heart of Stars tarot. The Afro Avatar tarot is another one that I'm going to be letting go of. Another really beautiful deck. I talked about it already in my other video, and you can see more of it there, but I'm going to be letting go of that one. The Sacred Destiny Oracle by Denise Lynn, also talked about that in my other video, but this is another one that I'm going to be saying goodbye to. The Wilderwoven Tarot, another one that I talked about in my other video. You know, won't go through the whole thing or anything, but you know, another really, really beautiful deck. But just one that didn't end up working out for me, so I'll be selling that. The Cute Cat Tarot I showed off in my other video as well. This was a Kickstarter deck, super sweet, super cute. It has holographic edges, little guidebook, and these cute little cartoon cats. I am going to be saying goodbye to that one. It also came with this Fool postcard that I'll include. Obviously, that was part of the Kickstarter goodies. And then finally, the Wandering Star Tarot is another one that I'll be saying goodbye to. That one came with a really pretty bookmark along with the, you know, as part of the Kickstarter goodies. So I'll include the bookmark with this one when I let it go. You know, this again is a really beautiful deck, but just not one that ended up working out for me. Okay, one other deck that I do want to mention is these Making Magic cards by Priestess Moon. I had put these in a recent declutter video, not actually all that recent, months ago. I think it was in the fall. Another declutter video. They never ended up selling, so I will be having these ones up for sale again. And you know, these are really nice little cards. They have like little sigils on them, and they're, you know, they're very cool, but they don't kind of really work with my practice. And then finally, for a surprise, some nifty gifties that I am planning to give away with some of the decks that I'm selling. Just because, again, these decks are small enough and inexpensive enough that it does not make sense for me to sell these. So I am just going to be giving these away. So the way that this is going to work is the first person who buys another deck from me and tells me that they also want one of these decks, I will throw whatever one they pick in for free. Just one at a time, please. You know, I don't want somebody to like take all three of them, but you know, if you are buying another deck from me and you decide that you would like to also have one of these, then just let me know and I will include it for free, obviously, unless somebody else has taken it too. So these three decks, one of them is the Sun and Moon Tarot. This is by Vanessa DeCourt. So mine is actually modified. I have trimmed mine, which makes it a very, very cute little deck. And you know, this is one of those decks that, again, a lot of people love this one, use it a lot. I just haven't found myself reaching for it among all my other sort of travel or tin decks in quite a while. But it's a great little deck. So this one, again, because it's a small tin deck and because I've also modified it, I am going to be giving this one away for free. So again, if you tell me that you want this one along with buying another deck from me, then I will include this one. Same story with the Radiant Wise Spirit Tarot. This is another mini deck, a very sweet little Low Scarabeo mini deck. So this is the mini size of the large Radiant Wise Spirit. And again, you know, this is a great deck. I love the coloration of it. I think it's a really nice little deck, but I do have other tin versions of the Rider-Waite-Smith that I reach for more than I reach for this one. In particular, I have a bridge size Pam's Vintage that I use a lot. And so I just, you know, haven't found myself reaching for this one. So I am going to be letting that one go. So this is another one that I will throw in for free to the first person who buys another deck from me and tells me that they also want this one. And then finally, same with this one. I've had this for like forever. This is a little Tarot to Go kit that has a mini Hanson Roberts in it. And this is a really inexpensive little kit. And the mini Hanson Roberts is very cute. The Hanson Roberts itself is like normally small, but this is an even smaller version of it. And so I am going to be letting go of this one as well. This is another one where just buy another deck from me and tell me you also want this one and I will throw it in for free. to the first person who claims it. So that's it for my declutter, guys. Those are all of the decks that I am going to be letting go of. Again, look down in the description box for pricing on these and information on how to get in touch with me. I look forward to finding these decks new homes and reclaiming a little bit of my shelf space. So much appreciated to anybody who ends up being interested in purchasing one of these. And again, just as a reminder, these 3 are going for free. So if you buy another deck from me, just tell me that you also want one of these and I will include it for free. Just because, again, these are too inexpensive to be worthwhile to ship. But again, please only claim one of them because I'd like different people to get them. So yeah, so that's it. I will try to keep the description box updated very closely with what has sold and what hasn't. And yay, I'm feeling lighter already. Getting things cleaned out a bit for spring. So thanks so much for watching, you guys. Have a great one. Bye-bye.